First it was Cheryl Swoops, and then now it is a good friend of hers, actually, that just lost her damn job, bruh. Yes.
Imagine logging onto social media and seeing that prominent voices, the kind you're used to hearing dissecting WNBA games, are suddenly just gone. Not just sideline reporters missing a broadcast, but effectively scrubbed from their roles. It feels less like coincidence and more like a deliberate, coordinated cleanup happening across the league, all centered around the massive impact of one player. Just when you thought the dust had settled after one controversial removal, another name surfaces confirming that a significant shakeup is underway.
And I'm telling y'all right now, you gotta pay close attention to what is happening in the W, dog. I spoke about this a few weeks ago. Seemed like every person that wronged Caitlyn Clark in some way, shape, or form is no longer employed, is no longer in this damn league. And everyone else is not there. Look at Kennedy Carter. Kennedy Carter's going on streamer podcasts as of right now to try to get back in the W, bro. I mean, she's trying anything to be relevant, bro. Well, guess what, guys? The proof was in the pudding, because I'm here to tell you she ain't got no damn job right now, and she's going to be going on Gilbert Arenas probably for her next employment.
The latest shockwave? Cindy Brunson. For years, she was a familiar voice on the Phoenix Mercury broadcast team, covering women's basketball with seasoned perspective. But when Caitlyn Clark burst onto the scene, something fundamentally changed in Brunson's commentary. It wasn't just professional analysis anymore. It morphed into something that felt deeply personal and frankly hostile, directed squarely at the rookie phenomenon.
We applaud the accomplishment, but it can't truly be appreciated. Not only, you can't truly be appreciated. She showed up to a Caitlyn Clark game wearing Cheryl Swoops shoes. Like, she is as big, like, even looking back on it, she is as big as of a Caitlyn Clark hater as there's been.
The pattern began with Brunson's peculiar fixation on undermining Clark's collegiate scoring record. Instead of celebrating this historic achievement, Brunson took every opportunity to discredit it, consistently pushing Cheryl Swoops' accomplishments as somehow more legitimate. This wasn't just a one-time comment or throwaway remark. It became a recurring theme in her commentary, a deliberate attempt to diminish Clark's achievements before she even played her first professional game. But Brunson's campaign against the Fever ecosystem went beyond just targeting Clark. She bizarrely pushed a narrative that Kelsey Mitchell, the Fever's established star at that time, wanted out of Indiana. This claim came despite Mitchell's own words and actions showing her commitment to the team. It was as if Brunson was trying to manufacture drama and division where none existed, potentially damaging team chemistry during a pivotal season for the franchise.
The pattern began early, almost immediately after Clark gained national prominence. Brunson seemed obsessed with tearing down Clark's collegiate scoring record. Instead of acknowledging a historic achievement, she used every opportunity to diminish it, constantly pushing the narrative that Cheryl Swoops' accomplishments were somehow more legitimate. This wasn't a one-off hot take. It became a relentless theme in her broadcasts, a clear, calculated attempt to delegitimize Clark's achievements before she even played her first professional game.
Obviously, we've seen her trying to basically get Kelsey Mitchell off the Fever, but someone just said stay the F away from the Fever. Cindy Brunson is saying that she just thought it was a doppelganger situation, and that this wasn't Sydney Colson trying to make fun of Monica Chinano. Then maybe like it wouldn't look as bad, but her explanation was awful. But at the same time, like, it was very clearly Sydney Colson was trying to make fun of a college student. You're almost 50 years old. Why are you on this app causing so much drama? This is the dumbest response ever. It was literally from last year, not years ago, and you were laughing at a professional WNBA player intimating that a young woman in college looks like a man. There's literally date at the bottom. So what's become blatantly obvious that you're really good at holding fans to a different standard you hold yourself, which is worse. And this would be like, she probably could have explained herself better, but like, and in fairness, she did say in hindsight she didn't. But this is the worst tweet. The pictures look like a doppelganger situation. I'm sorry that's not good enough for you, but that's the truth. And the college player was a grad student who was... What the hell does that have to do with anything? She has gone full Cheryl Swoops, and that's not good. It's not good for basketball. It's not good for the Phoenix Mercury. It's not good for her own career. And I do hope that she just deletes the Twitter app. And that is what I've said to Cheryl Swoops. If you are Cindy Brunson, delete the Twitter app right now.
But her negative focus didn't stay on Clark alone. Brunson bizarrely pushed a completely unsubstantiated claim that Kelsey Mitchell, the Fever's established star at the time, wanted out of Indiana. Think about that. Actively trying to create drama and division within a team during a pivotal season, despite Mitchell herself showing commitment. It felt like she was trying to manufacture conflict where none existed, potentially damaging team chemistry. And her hostility extended beyond the court to the fans themselves. She seemed particularly bothered by the surge of new fans drawn to the WNBA by Clark, treating them not as welcome additions, but as unwelcome outsiders who didn't deserve a place in the league's discussion. And perhaps the most revealing move? Publicly mocking Monica Chinano, Clark's former Iowa teammate, showed her negativity wasn't about basketball critique. It was about taking shots at anyone in Clark's orbit, exposing the personal nature of her commentary.
Not one to celebrate people losing their job, but Cindy Brunson was legit unlistenable on the microphone, and that's not even including the anti-CC stuff. Swoops gone, Brunson gone. They're weeding out of the fools is in full swing. WNBA teams and networks continues this trend and capitalize on their new eyeballs.
The Mercury's decision wasn't a slap on the wrist. It was a complete removal. When teams typically handle problematic broadcasters, there's a well-established damage control playbook. Reassign them to less visible games, issue a carefully worded apology, or impose a brief suspension. But Phoenix chose a different path entirely, scrubbing Brunson from every single broadcast on their 2025 schedule, not just the Fever matchups.
Cindy Brunson, all right? Apparently she has been fired as well. Got clipped. And yeah, if you don't know this person, she was really nasty as well. I didn't necessarily talk about her too much, but yes, she was a nasty individual.
Like nobody. Skip Bayless, to his credit, he knew who Lindsay Whalen was, he knew who Maya Moore was, wanted to have a conversation. So the fact that Stephen A is using my sister Cheryl Swoops for clicks and likes is horrifying. And I implore everybody that can hear my voice to push back on Stephen A and say, why won't you have Cheryl on? Why won't you have Monica McNutt back? Because they called him out. He just doesn't want to face the truth, and he wants to line up in the narrative behind everybody else that Caitlyn Clark came down the mountain with tablets in her hand to save the WNBA.
When faced with criticism about her increasingly harsh and questionable remarks, Brunson's reaction was telling. She didn't apologize or reflect. Instead, she doubled down, dismissing the mockery of Chinano, for example, as just laughing at a doppelganger situation, insisting there was nothing deeper to it. This refusal to acknowledge the impact of her words, her inability or unwillingness to accept responsibility, only amplified concerns about her approach and professionalism. But this wasn't an isolated incident.
Here's a newsflash. The W didn't need saving. It just needed promotion. The product has never been the problem. It has always been the promotion. And part of the problem comes from the fact that Stephen A. Smith makes more money than God. So when it came to showing games at different times of the day and getting advertisers to line up, they had to pay Stephen before they could do right by the WNBA at ESPN, which is why ESPN lost out on this new multi-billion-dollar deal that involves 3 different platforms outside of ESPN. I just wanted to get that off my chest.
The Phoenix Mercury revealed a revamped 2025 local broadcast lineup without any mention of Cindy Brunson.
This situation becomes far bigger when you look at the striking parallels with another controversial figure recently removed, Cheryl Swoops. Like Brunson, Swoops is an established figure in women's basketball, a former player, and became one of the most vocal critics of Caitlyn Clark. And like Brunson, She too was removed from her team broadcasting role by the Dallas Wings earlier. It seemed like a team-specific decision at the time, but the pieces are now falling into place, showing something much larger is happening. As one observer put it, Brunson went full Cheryl Swoops.
Like, the Dallas Wings have left off Mrs. Cheryl Swoops on the broadcasting team for the 2025 season. If you guys remember, Cheryl Swoops, she was on the broadcasting team last year, right?
In a move that's sending shockwaves through WNBA media circles, Swoops has been quietly scrubbed from the league-sponsored Queens of the Court podcast. This isn't speculation. The podcast's cover art has been updated to remove her image, and her name has vanished from recent episode credits.
And now there's concrete proof that Swoops' removal wasn't just a team decision. In a move largely flown under the radar, Swoops has also been quietly scrubbed from the WNBA's own sponsored Queens of the Court podcast. Her image is gone from the cover art, her name removed from recent episode credits. This isn't speculation. It's a tangible removal from official league content. This quiet distancing connects unsettlingly with Swoops' well-documented history as a college coach at Loyola University Chicago. Reports surfaced years ago alleging she created an emotionally volatile environment, mistreated players, threatened scholarships, and improperly shared personal information, leading to a mass exodus of players. Former players describe being belittled and humiliated. This history casts a shadow over her broadcasting behavior towards Clark, suggesting a worrying pattern of behavior towards young women she perceives as a threat.
But now there's a story that goes with it. It looks like they booted Swoops from the Queens of Court podcast. Now, Just Jordan has a podcast and she has guests on. The WNBA listened to the new fans, looked at the facts, and acted accordingly.
So, let's connect the dots. Two major critics of Caitlyn Clark, two former players turned broadcasters, both removed from their key roles around the same time. Brunson gone completely from all 2025 Mercury broadcasts. Swoops dropped by her team and quietly removed from official league content. This isn't mere coincidence. The statistical unlikelihood of these specific individuals being removed so decisively and simultaneously points towards a deliberate, calculated league-wide strategy. The WNBA is sending an unmistakable message.
It seems like the WNBA is listening to the fan base, right? Not just going after podcasters or just YouTubers, but going after the ones that are tied into the WNBA media. And I'm glad to see this, man. I'm glad to see them cleaning it up. Because last year was abysmal, man. Was abysmal. I mean, you had asinine take on asinine takes, all right? And it really had nothing to do with basketball. They just hated this woman. Hated this young lady, man. And it was ridiculous.
And we all know this was a Caitlyn Clark hate fest last year, right? I mean, seriously. And there they are. That's the old cover for the podcast. And this is the new one.
Swoops, she's under investigation, accused of mistreating players.
You asked me about Caitlyn. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that player said it.
Okay.
Right?
College coach is not only under fire, but under investigation after reports that the majority of her roster has decided to leave.
One former Loyola player, Kate Swan, delivered a particularly damning assessment. Just because you're a great player doesn't mean you're a great coach. This history of belittling and humiliating players at Loyola creates a concerning pattern that continued into her broadcasting career, where her comments about Clark weren't innocent mistakes but appeared calculated to diminish a rising star's achievements.
That she mistreated players.
It was the environment she created. I was belittled, humiliated, made to feel extremely small.
Why is the league making such decisive moves now? The driving force appears to be simple business. The WNBA has seen unprecedented growth, viewership, and mainstream attention largely fueled by Caitlyn Clark's arrival. She is, without question, their biggest draw and a massive investment in the league's future. Allowing broadcasters to constantly undermine her legitimacy, push false narratives, and stir negativity around her, her teammates, and the growing fan base directly harms the league's brand and its bottom line. Fan pressure has been immense. sponsors likely raise concerns, and it's reasonable to assume there's internal pressure, perhaps even tied to the NBA's increasing influence and financial stake in the WNBA's success.
Head coach since 2013, last year 5 of her players reportedly transferred to different programs. And this year, a reported 10 of the team's 12 players aren't planning on coming back.
Years. Well, Caitlyn should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record?
Ops are dropping. First Cheryl Swoops, now Cindy Brunson. Who else of the Hatelins got the axe this season? So you mean to tell me that the NBA, and by default trickling down, as in Adam Silver probably called Kathy Engelbert and said, you know what we're going to do here? We're not going to have all this hating on the player I did a video on earlier, the women's player, the female player that is second in NBA jersey sales. Somebody got the memo about revenue. And this is a good look. It is. I'm not going to act like it's not. Sounds like the league's getting more professional, getting rid of the clowns. G-Unit pointing it out. NBA would increase the WNBA's revenue sharing pie, but it would insist on having say in who the WNBA uses as their mouthpieces. G-Unit, pretty smart on this one. Maybe broadcasters realize the Caitlyn Clark fan club has the biggest fan base. Just hope the replacements are more unbiased.
The message from the league seems crystal clear. While critical analysis is part of the game, relentless negativity, personal vendettas, and baseless attacks on players, particularly the ones driving the league's growth, will not be tolerated. The clean break with both Brunson and Swoops isn't about silencing all criticism. It's about maintaining professional standards in broadcasting and protecting the league's valuable assets and image. The era of tearing down the WNBA's rising stars for what appear to be personal or outdated reasons seems to be rapidly coming to an end. With these two prominent voices gone, the obvious question hangs in the air. Who else might be rethinking their approach? And are there more changes on the horizon? The cleanup, it appears, is far from finished.